Hey everyone, welcome. Today I want to share with you guys how I paint or sketch loose. I'll be sharing with you guys my materials that I love to use. Alright, so I already got a sketch in already just now, and I'm just gonna add line work to it now, and I'll share with you guys my process on how I work loose. I've been loving to use this blue from Nila Colori. I have to take the pen out to see what color it is, but I feel like it is not so granulated. I feel like it doesn't separate as much as the blues that I've got in here. Whenever I mix skin tones with these blues, I feel like the blue kind of separates out from the mix. Sometimes it lands on like wrong areas and it creates like a contrast or shadow there that I don't really like. So I feel like I've been using this blue more often, and I feel like it's been working well for me. For me, working loose is just to I like to just put a mark down wherever I feel like it. I don't think too much about where I'm putting my pen down. I'm just making strokes, making marks. Of course, sometimes I would say like you would overwork a piece, and in the end I wouldn't like it as much, but it's just part of the process. Sometimes you do overwork a piece, and sometimes you do get to that right balance of like loose and intentional. So these are the pens that I like to use to make more expressive strokes. So this is the Pentel brush pen. The thing about these pens is that you can also keep the ones that are dried out, and you can just reactivate them with ink, because the brush itself, like when it's damaged, it also creates a different stroke. And I also like to use this pen. This is actually the refill, but I don't know where the body of the pen is, but I don't really use this pen that often nowadays because it leaks a lot, so it's a bit, you know, when I use it I have to be very wary of it. But this is the Stylo Pen. I also love any water-based markers. I feel like water-based markers are more expressive just because it's water-based, so you can activate it with water. It is both a pro and a con. If you want to use water on top of your art but you don't want to smudge the lines, then you should avoid using a water-based marker. So now I'm going to use this brush pen first. You can see that this brush is it's a medium-sized tip. It has a very fine point, but it also has a medium-sized body. And just putting pressure on the pen will allow you to create multiple strokes and varying line weights. So you can do something like that. You just need kind of like, I guess a steady hand, but you can get used to this. I remember when I just started using this, this was recommended by my friend. I actually had a hard time adjusting to this because initially I used the Zig brush pen, and that one has a very small point. But the whole point of creating, like, to work loose is actually just to not be afraid. It's very easy to say, but I think you just need practice, and you just need to use the brush pen multiple times, and you'll get used to how you should hold it and like the weight or the pressure that you should put on it to create the lines that you want to achieve. Okay, now I'm just gonna add the details on the eye, which is always my favorite. I love using these kind of brush pens for the eyelashes and the eyeliner. It's always so fun. You can see that it creates feather weight lines, but it can also create heavier weight lines just by you adding a little bit of pressure to that. Okay, so this is just one of the ways that I like to work very loose. So now that we've got a space over here, I think let's sketch something. I usually like to keep the color palette very similar on a spread, like with, okay, this is not really similar, but for example, like with this, I feel like it just creates a lot of consistency for myself. That's just how I like to work. Let's just put ink directly on the paper. That's also a very good way, even though I'm very mistake prone, but it is the way to add looseness to a piece. When you sketch everything out properly and you fix this and you fix that, it does make it look more polished, which in turn doesn't make it look very loose or very sketchy. So let's go in straight with the brush and a little bit of watercolors. And the good thing is if you use watercolors, watercolors are still generally quite forgiving. So if you really don't like it, you can still try to remove the paint off of it just by putting a little bit of water on it and then using a towel to pick up the color. So for today, let's go with this reference. It's actually from the same collection as the one that I already sketched over here. Just like to put, how do I say, like I just like to put the pen directly on the paper. So you can just look at your imagery, or you can imagine, like get it from your head or anything, and just put it directly on the paper without really plotting every move, just like eye to paper. That's kind of like, is that the right way to say it? It's just like what you see, just what you put down, you know? That's how I'm gonna work. Just get the general idea across. You don't have to put down too much details just right off the bat. Just go in a bit loose. I'm gonna remove this area a little bit. So just do that and it picks up the color. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. I'm actually still currently learning likeness. I feel like I don't do likeness very well yet. Okay, there's this pencil mark that's in the middle of the paper that's really throwing me off, so I'm just gonna clean it up. Okay. And sometimes you can use your fingers as well just to smudge out the lines or to clean up some of the areas. These paints are it can easily be picked up. So, okay, that's kind of it. Let me go in and add like those little details just to paint out the elements. I love the blue in that palette, so we're just going to take a little bit of that. Okay, there's no blue in the piece, but I'm just going to add this on my own accord, so I'm gonna do the lips. The red in this palette is also really nice. Just gonna use that. And there are also some different ways that you can use your brush. I'm only using a round brush here. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's from Black Silver Velvet. I think their bristles are a mix of synthetic and real, and I just like that. I don't know, I like the bounce or like the way the brush flexes. So now I'm gonna add some blues, and you can see how just even a simple round brush that you can use it to create actually quite varying line weight and texture. If you kind of hold the brush in another way and you flick it, you will see that you will create different strokes with it. And you can just kind of, you know, you can just experiment and you can play around with your material. I think that's the most important thing. Just play around with your material and see what you can get from it. You know, I'm kind of going in with like, okay, I don't really like the brown in this. I feel like the brown and the blue really clashes. Okay, but it's alright because we're just gonna brush it away. So this is how it looks like right now while it's drying. It's still very light, but you can see, you know, where the features are. So same thing, I'm gonna start off with this first. Just, you know, where you want to put the mark, just let your hand like just naturally guide you. Just let the momentum kind of take you away. That's what I always say. I mean, a leaky pen also adds to the texture, but well, just gonna use it to add this kind of free-flowing texture. And the good thing about water-based pen is you can go in with a brush, you add some interest to the piece. Might have went a little bit overboard, but whatever. Okay, I don't really like this color. This brown kind of throws it off. I mean, and the good thing about art is, like, even if you don't like it, then I guess you can just try again, you know. It's not the end of the world to not like a piece. I tell that to you guys, but I do have a hard time sometimes accepting some mistakes. I just want to kind of make the eye very lazy. I want it to look very lazy. Okay. And I feel like even though I am, like, I draw, I guess, primarily more like fashion illustrations, I think this is easily, like, adaptable to other styles as well, I guess, in a way. Alright, something like that. I think we're kind of done. We haven't used this yet. Okay, let me just share with you guys how I would use it usually. So if you hold it like straight up like that, you can see the texture, texture that you create is like this. Because this brush is already a little bit dry, I've had this for a while. If you tilt it to the side, you can create some strokes like that, and it looks like eyelashes. So I'm just gonna use it that way. Okay. It's the 22nd. Let me just make a mark. I hope that I got to share with you guys some ways that I sketch loosely or work with my supplies, at least in like a loose way. It's always just about making marks that your heart wants to make, so just going in with an open, you can do it in a sketchbook so it's a little bit less daunting because it's a bit more experimentative, the setting, and just working through your sketchbook like that will familiarize yourself with, you know, with how you want to use your lines and how you want to use your materials as well. So this is it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoy this spread and that you've got to learn something and, you know, see how, like, the way I like to sketch and how I use my supplies. And I'll see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye!